Hi all, welcome to session 3 of the Azure Data Factory playlist. And in this session, we are going to see the first pane of copy activity that is called as general section. If you go in the general section of the copy activity, you will see top 6 options as shown on the screen. So you will see a name, description, activity state, timeout, retry, retry interval in seconds. So we will see each and every option that I have displayed on the screen in detail in this particular session. So let's go to Azure portal. Let me log into my Azure portal. And for those who are watching this video directly, there are two videos before this, session 1 and session 2. So I'm making videos in the order, so please watch first two sessions and then come to this video. That way it will be easier for you to understand. So we are now in our Azure portal. We will go to Azure resource groups. We are using Azure Data Factory resource group, and in this we are going into our data factory. Let me just duplicate this in order to open our data lake as well. In the meantime, let me go into my data factory. Fine, let's go to home, go to resource group and open our ADLS Gen2 account. Fine, let's go to storage browser and blob containers data. So in the last session, we did a sample copy activity pipeline where we performed a file copy from customer source to customer sink. And right now I have deleted the data file from both the locations. So now customer source and customer sink is empty. Now let's go and take a look at the pipeline that we created in the last session. So PL copy customer data, let me just minimize it. So if you click on the copy data activity, you have total 6 panes. You have general, source, sync, mapping, setting, user properties, out of which source and sync is mandatory. You have to fill in details in these two panes, and you can keep mapping, settings and user properties as it is default. There is no need to change if you don't want to. In the general section, you have name. As usual, you will give the name of the activity. That way every person who is looking at your pipeline will be able to figure out what this activity is going to do. In order to give a detailed description, you can put the description here. So let me just put it. Customer source to customers sync in ADLS Gen 2. Okay, so this is the description. You provide a explanation. That way it will be easier for the person who is looking at your pipeline. If he or she clicks on the activity, he or she will be able to understand more better, like what this activity is going to do in detail. So the description is that activity state. So suppose if you want to run this pipeline but you don't want this activity to get triggered, so by default this activity is active. So when it is active, as soon as you run the pipeline, this activity is going to start. But if I deactivate it, if you see, it is changing the color, so it has grayed out. So normally in the UI, whenever something is grayed out, that means it is inactive. So if I run the debug, so debug option is used when you want to test your pipeline before publishing. If you want to see whether the pipeline is working as expected, you run a debug. So you can see the pipeline status is succeeded. Since activity status is inactive, the activity was not triggered. So even the pipeline ran, the activity was not triggered. So if you go and see the customer sync, nothing, and customer source, since we don't have anything there, the pipeline should have failed. But since the activity is itself inactive, the pipeline did not run that. So that is why we didn't get a failure message. So that is the deactivated and activated option for the activity state. Now the timeout is very crucial. Timeout is going to give you the total time for which this activity will run. So suppose a file that we are using, customer.csv, is a very big file. It is in GBs. Now if you say that this particular value should be 12 minutes, so the format of the timeout is, first 0 denotes number of days, so it can be 0 to 9. Then you have hours, 0 to 24. You have minutes, 0 to 60. And you have seconds, 0 to 60. The thing is, by default it is 10. So if I try to give anything less than 10, it says by default it has to be 10 minutes. So if I am giving, let's suppose, 12 minutes and I run this pipeline, if this activity takes more than 12 minutes to execute, the pipeline will fail because timeout will occur. The data has to be copied by this activity within the given time frame. So for now, let's keep it, I would say, 60 minutes. That is more than sufficient for us. Okay, no less than 10 minutes. Okay, so we have to give like 59 minutes if you want. 60 minutes is essentially 1 hour. Fine. So retry. Now, suppose if you are working with a file customer.csv, and this file is taking some time to appear in the source location. So customers.source, this file is coming after some time when you are expecting it was not there, but you want the pipeline to wait for certain amount of time and then want to retry again. So you will use this option. So retry is by default 0. So if you are going to put retry as 1, that means if this copy activity fails, it will try to execute this activity one more time. And the amount of time it will take between these two tries is the retry interval in seconds. So by default 30 seconds. So let me run this. Okay, so I'm not publishing it right now, but let me run this. So the current situation is that I have said retry one more time. So the copy activity will be triggered two times by my pipeline. So let me debug it. As you can see, look at the duration. So right now the pipeline is putting copy data activity into execution queue. Now it is in progress. It failed because there was no file customer.csv in our source. Okay, so it is going to wait for 30 seconds. That is why pipeline status is still in progress. So it is waiting for 30 seconds that we have put in retry interval, and after that it will try to execute copy customer data one more time. See this. So now after 30 seconds, copy customer data activity is again queued. It will run one more time. It will fail again. Once these two times the activity fails, pipeline status will be failed, because now you have said that only one time you have to retry. That means only two times you have to run the pipeline, your copy activity in the pipeline. If you say 4 retries, that means one try that is going to be the default. After that it will try 4 more times. That means total 5 times the activity will trigger. Now let's do this. Let's go here and change the retries to 3 times and click on debug. It failed. So let me go and quickly upload the customers.cc file in my source. So I will go to desktop and go to session 3, customers.csv. Now if you see, it will pick up as soon as the second retry happens. Okay, it is queued. It succeeded. Pipeline is successful. Now if you go into your data container and if you go into customer sync, you will find the file. So to recap what we learned, so copy general section, we have top 6 options as name, description, activity state, timeout, retry interval in seconds. Name is mandatory. You have to give a name. It can be default, it can be a name given by you, but please use something meaningful so that you can understand what this activity is all about. Description provides more detail about the activity, so you can put like a story, a small description about what this activity is going to do in this entire pipeline. Then activity state, activated or deactivated. If you do not want to run this particular activity as part of your debugging, you can put it as deactive. So when the pipeline will run, this activity will not get triggered, and rest of the activities that are there in the pipeline will trigger. If this is only the activity in that pipeline, the activity won't be triggered and pipeline will become successful. Timeout is the maximum amount of time that this activity can take to execute. So it is in the form of days, hours, minutes, and seconds. By default, it is 10 minutes. So you cannot give a timeout less than 10 minutes. And I think the maximum you can give is 7 days. If I'm not wrong, let me just correct that. Yeah, so it is 7 days, not 9 days, it is 7 days. And retry means, suppose if you are expecting that there can be a situation where the file that you are looking for is not present in the source. So you want the pipeline to try few times being before going into the failed state. So you can use this retry option. By default it is 0. You can put as many as you want, retry 1 2 3 4 5, and the time difference between the two attempts will be the sixth option. So retry interval in seconds. You cannot put less than 30 seconds here. So if you are saying retry 2 times, that means the first time is going to be the default. So there will be 2 more retries. That means total 3 times the activity will get executed. And if all the 3 times the activity fails, the pipeline will be considered as failed. So that is how these 6 options work in the copy activity. I hope this video was helpful. Please like, share, and subscribe, and please share your thoughts. And we will meet in the next session. Thank you so much.